But I'll tell you, that model can seem overwhelming. It seems simple enough in verse 35, but it gets overwhelming by verse 37. Verse 37, Jesus shifts his metaphors here from the flock to the field. He tells his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, the laborers are few. The world is filled with people who need compassion. The world is not filled with people who have God's compassion. There's way more people in the world that need it than have it. And so it can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for Jesus. Our Lord is overwhelmed at it. Here at the end of Matthew 9, he feels overwhelmed. Just the crowds of people coming to him. Mark makes it clear he dodges out of there to get some space so he can pray and so he can go back to preaching. There's just so many needs surrounding him. It's overwhelming. There's not enough workers. And so Jesus gives a prayer request. I mean, that's noteworthy. Jesus says to his disciples, would you pray for me in this way? Pray that the Lord of the harvest could send out laborers into the harvest. Well, who's the Lord of the harvest? He is. So just look at this full circle here. Disciples pray to the Lord of the harvest that he'll send out workers to the harvest. Look at chapter 10, verse 1. He sends them out in the harvest. You know, you pray to Jesus, he's going to answer the prayer. Jesus says, pray this, and you pray to him, he'll answer it, and he'll probably use you to do it. Lord, you can picture Andrew, right? Lord, send out a worker to the harvest in Jesus. There you go, Andrew. Have fun. Now, I bit off more than I can chew with this harvest verses. We'll look at them on Thanksgiving Day because it's got the word harvest in it, and Thanksgiving Day, that'll be our Thanksgiving Day sermon. But I just want you to appreciate for the second how overwhelming the world is. Overwhelming. 43% of the world is unreached, meaning that there's no church in their neighborhood. There's no church in their world. They don't have a Bible. They can go to the store and buy a Bible. There's not a church down the street. They don't hear the gospel, no Christian radio, no Christian TV. It's 40% of the world or so. I mean, the harvest is huge. Every Christian should be a worker in the field. That's what it means to be saved, to be part of the Great Commission. But the problem is, like a field, I love the field analogy, there's lots of rows in the field. Some rows have no workers in them. And some rows you're working elbow to elbow with workers. You're crowded in there. And other whole sections of the field are just empty. Empty. And Jesus says, pray. You're confronted by the overwhelming nature of the unreached world. Pray. Pray that God would send workers in the harvest. And you better be careful if you are obedient to that prayer request. Because what happened to Andrew could happen to you. You pray that God would send out workers in the field, and you might be the answer to your own prayer.